Pema Khandu, Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, Swami Atma Priyanandaji, Vice-chancellor of Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda University, Professor Sunaina Singh, Honorable Vice-chancellor, Nalanda University. May I please request them to take the chairs? May I please request Professor S.P. Singh, member of the organizing committee, to felicitate Sri Pema Khandu, Honorable Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, I'm sorry. May I please request Sri Guru Prakash ji to felicitate Sri Atma Priyananda ji Maharaj. And the felicitations memento to Swami Atma Priyananda ji Maharaj. May I request Shiv to felicitate our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sunaina Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the valedictory session for the 4th Dharma-Dhamma International Conference. In this session, I first request Professor S.P. Singh, member of the organizing committee, to present the report of the conference.
Thank you so much. Respected chair of the valedictory session, Sri Pema Khandu ji, our chief guest of the session, Swami Atma Priyananda ji, Madam Vice-chancellor of Nalanda University, I am presenting the report of this 4th International Dharma-Dhamma Conference on State and Social Order in Dharma-Dhamma tradition. The conference was inaugurated on 11th January 2018 by His Excellency, our President Sri Ramnath Kovind ji. The distinguished guests of honor were His Excellency Sri Tilak Marapana, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sri Lanka, His Excellency Sri Satpal Malik ji, Governor of Bihar, Sri Nitish Kumar ji, Chief Minister of Bihar, and Srimati Preeti Saran, Secretary, East Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Sri Sushil Kumar Modi, Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, and Professor Sunaina Singh, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Nalanda University, were present on the dais. His Excellency, the President of India, in his address emphasized on the role of Dharma-Dhamma tradition in Act East policy, as, in quotes, as it goes far beyond a diplomatic initiative or trade investment, quote close. It aims at a larger goal that the integration of the dreams and hopes of the hundreds of millions who live in India and Southeast Asia with Dharma-Dhamma footprints. He added, Sri Nitish Kumarji congratulated the university for organizing such a wonderful conference on the very land which has been cradle of Dharma-Dhamma traditions, Bihar. He insisted that the university should work towards getting Rajgir recognized as the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Honorable Chief Minister also spoke of Nalanda and Dharma-Dhamma traditions as the only possible solution in the future towards the conflict resolution. After this inaugural session, in first plenary session, the academic session of the conference began with a plenary discussion chaired by Professor Arvind Sarmaji, Professor of Comparative Religion, McGill University, Vedacharya, Dr. David Froleji, renowned author and spiritual thinker, began this session by presenting his views on the need for revival of dharmic ideas in statecraft. Professor Makarand Paranjpe, JNU, draw from Indian Renaissance thinkers like Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, who presented a new deity and mantra to Indians. The idea was to present a new way of reaching narratives through what he called the intermediary hermeneutics. Professor Arvind Sarmaji concluded the session by presenting his views on the shortcomings of the faulty translations of the word religion as dharma and vice versa. Plenary 2 was chaired by Professor S.R. Bhatt, Chairman, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, New Delhi. Dr. Frank G. Rude, as a panelist, discussed the initiative taken by his foundation to foster in today's society the idea of healthy body through organic farming, pure mind through secular education, and noble spirit through Buddhism. Professor Madhu Khanna from Jamia Millia Islamia shared her ideas about the eco-dharma, discussing the Bhumi Sutra from Atharva Veda and its relevance in times, both old and new. She presented nature as sacred and thus an entity of worship. Professor Braj Sinha presented a comparative analysis of the Mahabharata and Arthashastra, pointing out the need for restructuring the state on lines of dharma and re-emergence of the Dharma king as presented in the two texts. Venerable Tiste Laosang Dorji spoke on the crucial role the Mongolians monasteries played in 1990s in rearranging the Mongolian society. Plenary 3 was chaired by Sri Sakti Sinhaji, Director, Teen Murti. Ms. Stua Zhang from China spoke on the relevance of the dharmic ideas in order to maintain peace internationally. Mr. Se Aman focused on the role of monk played in transmission of Buddhist ideas and peacekeeping. Mr. Mayo Win spoke on need of promoting the Dhamma, human right, and other notions of peaceful existence enshrined in Buddhism. He also spoke on the need to establish sustainable and healthy economic and peaceful state. Plenary 4 on day 2 was chaired by Swami Advaitananda Ji. Reflecting on the themes of the conference, he said that Dharma-Dhamma connotes the righteous conduct and living leading to a realization, in quotes, what makes us what we are, quote unquote. Professor Gangnegi from Delhi University spoke on the need of bridging the misinterpreted gap between the ideas of Dharma and Dhamma. Pramaha Buna Pratchat spoke on Indo-Thai relations and role Buddhism played in maintaining the same. Venerable Dr. Huekai, Deputy Abbot for Gong Monastery, Taiwan, spoke on sustainability of the world and life by taking inspiration from mathematical principles and linking them with the principles of Dharma. Professor Venkat Rao from IFLU, Hyderabad, presented his hypothesis: if Indian civilization is dharmic, then there is a crisis of paradharma. By comparing logos and means, manas, he proposed developing new culture, form and formations, keeping in mind the diverse jatis of India. Plenary 5 was chaired by me, Professor S.P. Singh from Delhi. The speaker include Zulio Ozon, Venerable Tulku Rinpoche, and Mr. Lao Demchok. Beside these 5 plenary sessions, we had 60 papers. These 60 papers were divided into 10 sessions. 9 thematic classifications were executed by the abstract committee, consisting of Professor S.R. Bhatt, myself, and Dr. Swades. And the themes presented in all these paper presentations were state governance and social order in Dharma tradition. There were 2 parallel sets on it. State and social order in Dharma tradition, ecology and environment consciousness in Dharma-Dhamma tradition, peace and conflict in Dharma-Dhamma traditions, peace and conflict in Dharma-Dhamma traditions in Gandhi, Ambedkar, Lohia, and Deen Dayal. Idea of Rashtra in Dharma-Dhamma traditions, ecology and environment consciousness on conflict management in Dharma-Dhamma traditions, Buddhism and other belief systems, traditions and practice. These were the 9 classifications. With the paucity of time, I'm not taking name of his speakers and chairs, but we finally went with the concern and thematic belief that in all these paper presentations need to carry forward our civilizational values through moral and ethical practices as enshrined in our traditions. Scholars explored different sources like the Jataka to bring into focus the relationship between the ruler and the ruled, not just as the oppressor and oppressed, but more importantly, like the relation that exists between a parent and a child. In Arthashastra, in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, in Mahabharata also, it is expected from the king to look after the citizens or the subject as their own child. The hallowed tradition of India embodies a strong moral responsibility towards all inhabitants of the society through practice enshrined in its holy scriptures. With these words, thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Singh, for providing that wonderful overview. I would now invite Professor Sunaina Singh, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Nalanda University, and the force behind this conference in Rajgir to come and say a few words.
If I may correct, in Nalanda University. That's in Rajgir. Yeah. Shri Pema Khanduji, welcome to Nalanda University. We are honored to have you here. Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, a statesman who seems to be setting new benchmarks for other statesmen to follow. So welcome again to this function organized by Nalanda University and India Foundation. We are grateful to you, sir. Swami Atma Priyananji, Venerable Swami Atma Priyananji, is Vice-chancellor Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda University. And what better way to lead institutions than have Swamiji to lead this particular university. Thank you for honoring us, Swamiji. I've been part of Ramakrishna Math for many, many years now, so I know the good work that's being done by Ramakrishna Mission. A welcome to one and all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, young scholars and students. Nalanda University takes pride in being part of Dharma-Dhamma conference. This is the 4th edition, and I was happy to approach Sri Ram Madhavji, known for his vision and dynamism. And when I went up to him and I said that this conference ought to be held in Nalanda University, I don't think there's a better place to hold a conference on Dharma. And he readily agreed. He said, yeah, why don't we do it together? I said, wonderful, let's take it to Nalanda University. And that's how we conceived the idea and we moved forward. And as we moved forward, we found that the ministry was very happy that I'm going to have this conference here. I must mention Honorable Minister Sushma Swarajji. Her dynamism is very well known, and her support to the university is again something that speaks louder than words, I think, because the way she seemed to be charting the university forward with a single mission to promote the institution, particularly keeping in mind the historical relevance of Nalanda University. I'm very happy to have a minister of her stature to lead the university. Of course, my Secretary East and Joint Secretary, and we do have representatives from MEA, our Deputy Secretaries and Under-Secretaries here. So I'm thankful to the ministry for their support all through. India has been known as a spiritual civilization for many, many years now, for centuries. Hugh Xi, one of the Chinese ambassadors to US, said very poignantly that India has ruled over China for 20 centuries without ever stepping into China. Now that's the kind of, and I give this example to showcase how the wisdom and knowledge and spirituality of India is not just all encompassing here, but all over the East and Central Eastern areas. Now we've had participants here. I'll just mention, I thought that was not mentioned here. We've had participants coming from, Pema Kanduji, you should know, from a number of countries, right from Canada to Vietnam to Mongolia to Argentina, China, Sri Lanka, USA, Taiwan, Cambodia, Myanmar, just to name a few. And of course, our wide-ranging, wide spectrum of intellectuals from India. One of the important things that this conference has been able to accomplish is that we have brought together ministers, the statesmen, the governance experts, policymakers, philosophers, Swamijis, and monks on the same platform to discuss Dharma and how Dharma should be the principle for governance all through. One of the things that I was thinking about is our monks and Swamijis, or those of us who pray, are not necessarily into governance. We do not govern. And those who govern need not be monks and Swamijis. Now this kind of a thing, we find that in this conference, we are trying to bridge that gap. We bring the monks and Swamijis who have been able to lead us on the spiritual path, and the statesmen who've been guiding the society. When these two forces come together along with philosophers and other statesmen and scholars and intellectuals, I think there's no stopping Asian Renaissance. You would agree with me on that. Because India is on another journey altogether. If we were leaders in spiritual pathways, I think today we are leaders in many, many more ways, you know, on different platforms, right from governance to integrity and honesty. Principles of Dharma, I would say, governance and spirituality, that continues to be our mainstay. The time has come for our youngsters to take pride in our culture and civilization, something that we have lost to our colonial heritage, you know. 1300 years of colonial rule, somewhere we seem to have lost our self-esteem. I think time to rebuild that. Conferences such as this, Nalanda University with its unique mandate, I think we are well positioned to reclaim our self-esteem, our culture, our civilization, our spiritual values, and spread it not just in Asia but across the world. The West and the Europe still look at us for guidance, for their spiritual well-being. And I think it's time that we propagate that more. Now, when I say propagate, all that I mean is that Dharma should be the principle of leading one's life. And the youngsters who are here, I'm not speaking of my generation, but I'm speaking about the next generations to come. You will be the leaders of the world for the next 40 years, 30 to 40 years. And unless we are well entrenched in our dharmic principles, I do not think we can progress, because progress is not just financial well-being. It is the emotional, cultural, and spiritual well-being. You know, what Swami Vivekananda ji spoke about, man-making education. Character building is so important. Without that, without integrity, I don't think any institution or any country can progress. So let's start giving importance to that aspect of our life as well. Now, in this context, I just wanted to share a small story from Bhagavatam. Swamiji, shall I tell a small story from Bhagavatam? This is something to do with Dharma, and probably a story more relevant today than ever, when our moral compass seems to be so fragile. You know, King Parikshit is the grandson of Arjuna, as we know, son of Abhimanyu. He was the ruler, and he was on his tour of the kingdom. This is the beginning of Kali Yuga, remember that. And when he is doing this Brahman of his country, he comes across a very strange phenomenon. He sees a bull hopping on one leg, you know, and he pauses for a while. It takes him a little while to notice that the three legs are broken, and he wonders how these three legs are broken, and he's still able to hop on one leg. So he goes closer to the bull and says, "Oh, venerable one, who might you be that you are able to still hop on one leg when the three legs are broken?" And the bull says, "I am King Dharmaraj, and my three legs have been broken by excessive greed, lust, and arrogance." You know, Parikshit asks him, let me repeat, greed, lust, excessive greed, excessive lust, and arrogance. So King Parikshit asks him, what is this one leg that you are able to hop on? Because I do know that if three legs are broken, one can still hop. Not with one leg. So, you know, King Dharmaraj says, these were the legs of austerity. Austerity is simplicity, purity, and compassion. You know, unless the heart is pure, self-effacing, There's self-control in it. There's simplicity in your approach to life. There's compassion for everyone. You know, if these three legs have been broken by excessive greed and lust and arrogance, then there is, cause for concern. And Parikshit looks at the bull and says, "Oh, King Dharmaraj, how do we reclaim these three?" King Dharmaraj says, "It is for you to reclaim. It's the king who has to reclaim. It's the statesman who has to work towards it." So I believe that if you have honesty, it is possible to reclaim the three virtues. Most importantly, what has stood the test of time here is honesty, integrity. It is still there. The world is able to move forward. It's because of those very many good people. There may not be a huge negativity in the environment, but always remember that negativity somehow captures imagination and not goodness. So we need to ensure that goodness and positivity, honesty is propagated. It's a virtue to keep it with ourselves and reclaim all the other three. This story from Bhagavatam continues to be relevant because, in Krita Yuga, all the four legs were there. But by Kali Yuga, we seem to be gradually, this is a prophecy probably at that point of time. Now, if you take a closer look, this prophecy can be defeated by us. That's what Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma has taught us all through. That we can rise up to the level of being a god. Self-control is very important. So in order to do that, how do you bring virtues within yourself? So Dharma plays a very important role. Be it in any part of Asia, from Mongolia to Thailand, to Cambodia, to China. We've heard so many monks past 2 days, and we have learned that all of us are on the same page. Our destination is the same. The shared values, shared destinies. That's what the MEA says through its ASEAN-India partnership. And this event is hosted, also as part of that, we have the logo of ASEAN here. It means that many countries have come together through Sanatana Dharma, through Buddhism, to do that. And what better place than Nalanda? This is the land of Chanakya. This is the land of Aryabhat. This is the land of Sita Mata as we know her. Land of King Janak. This is where Dharmakirti or Nagarjuna were there. Chanakya has been here. So I tell this to my scholars and faculty and the non-teaching, that we need to imbibe a whole lot of virtues, because no education can be complete without character building, without the virtues that have been part of Sanatana Dharma. So let us try and spread the lesson of Dharma all through the world, I should say. Before I leave the floor, a couple of things that I wanted to say here, apart from about the conference, because this conference has ensured that there is convergence of ideas where Dharma is concerned, and we all agree on the principles of Dharma and Dhamma, because that was the principle of this particular conference, the 4th edition, and many more editions will follow, and every year we get to deliberate and discuss different aspects as per the changing times. These are the complex times, days of probably terrorism, lack of integrity, a lot of things. So this conference assumes prominence and significance in that context, I compliment India Foundation. One of the hats that I wear is also of India Foundation Director. So let me compliment my friends here, the other directors. And I have our young scholars from India Foundation who've always impressed me with their duty, diligence, and dedication. These 3 Ds are so important in life. We have Sudarshan here, and we have Guru sitting on that side. We have Navang, we have Priyank, Aditya, we have some more scholars here. They should be an example for all the students of the university, not just Nalanda, but other universities as well. So thank you for being part, for coming over to Nalanda and helping us move forward in this conference. I must also acknowledge, because I've been here in Nalanda just 6 months. So it's not just giving leadership to this institution, but also has been a time of discovery for me. Particularly this conference, I know that there are many, many diligent and sincere people here. So I'm very happy, and it reassures my faith in humanity constantly that with so many good people, there's no stopping us. My students, the kind of scholarship that seems to be emerging, I think we need to compliment the faculty as well. That there's a new academic framework that we have prepared, completely international. So there's no looking back again. I must thank my Board of Governance. We have Professor Arvind Sharma ji here. I've been interacting with him for some time now, and the kind of positive energy that he exudes, there's so much to learn from him. And I think each one of you, I'm sure you capitalized on his being with us for 3 days and learned something from him. Thank you, Arvind Sharma ji. One more person I thought I must. If I fail to address others, I'm sorry for the omission, but I must mention this very smiling and accomplished artist. Should I call him an artist? Neeraj. Neeraj, will you stand up? Neeraj Thakur. Who's ensured that everything is perfect at every stage. While we've done a lot of running around my faculty and non-teaching, Neeraj has been a picture of smiling Buddha, probably, always. I've never seen him angry, no matter what we tell him. No matter what we tell him. And I'm quite a tough taskmaster, I know. So thank you, Neeraj, for all that you have done for us. Well, this is not a vote of thanks, but I thought I must mention these people. One of my dean would be giving vote of thanks a little later on, and he will mention all those whom I have missed, I'm sure. And let me conclude by thanking Swamiji and Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh for gracing this occasion. I'm sure there'll be many more occasions when I want you to come and address our students. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words continue to inspire, as always. We are all very pleased to have you as our leader. May I now invite Swami Atmapriyananda ji to come on stage and address the audience.
Let me start in a lighter vein. Whenever I ask the organizers how much time I have, an incident always comes to my mind. Some years ago, I was in Bangkok to attend a world conference of vice-chancellors. They call them presidents in the United States, as you know. The chancellor of Oxford University was present as the inaugurator. Very knowledgeable, witty person. He began by saying the following. I went to an international conference and asked the audience, how long should I speak? In one voice they said, sir, you're so knowledgeable, you come from far away. Please do speak as long as you can, as long as you like. But we are leaving after half hour. So that's a very bad thing to happen to your speaker. Having said that, let me now become more serious. This is just to awaken people. I always feel the most important task of a speaker is to keep the audience awake. Not spiritually only, but even physically. Because air-conditioned hall is one thing which always invites some kind of drowsiness in people. There's one more joke. Let me make it a little more lighter. There's a Christian father who used to give very boring sermons on Sundays. Old woman, very pious Christian woman used to come with a grandson, a small kid, and used to doze off. One day, this father became very angry. Come on, wake up your grandma. Every time she dozes off here. Small kid innocently said, Father, you put her to sleep. Why should I wake her up? So let me begin seriously. We always begin in our traditions, as you know, with what is known as Shanti Mantra. Shanti Mantras are very important mantras which are prefixed and affixed to every Upanishad, which is called Vedanta. Why? Because Shanti or peace is fundamental to every value in life. The Bhagavad Gita says, even Sukha, happiness, is impossible without Shanti or peace. Ashantasya kutas sukham, that is the statement of the Bhagavad Gita. And our great sages, Vivekananda said, were great classifiers. There are three fundamental principles in the Vedic tradition, Dharma tradition. One is the generalization principle, the second, the unification principle, and the third, the classification principle. Vivekananda said, our great sages were grand generalizers. These principles are fundamental to science also. Those of you who are exposed to science, many of you must have been definitely. We talk about classification. You must have been exposed to the periodic classification of elements by Mendeleev and Loser-Meyer. So many elements, somebody thought we should classify them properly. And then so many elementary particles were discovered, they said they should classify them according to certain symmetry groups. And generalization, classification and unification. Human mind always looks to unity. That's the fundamental basis of religion and science. You are not satisfied with the variety unless you find the fundamental unity. So entire framework of Dharma or the Dhamma tradition in India is based on the principle of unity and variety. You celebrate variety, you be happy about it, but look for the fundamental unity, the thread which unites all this. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana eva, that is the statement of the Bhagavad Gita. I am the thread, the sutra. Now we have the string theory, the sutra theory, which connects all these various pearls. Infinite variety, let there be any amount of variety. But the variety has to be informed, interpenetrated by, and woven together by a fundamental unity which is at the basis. So our great sages classified everything so beautifully. So in this huge audience, suppose I ask all of you, everybody has some kind of a sorrow. Anybody without sorrow? No. Some kind of sorrow everybody has. How many kinds of sorrow are there in the universe? You tell me. You will say, oh, huge number, any amount of sorrow. But our great sages in our tradition classified sorrows also. How many kinds of sorrows are possible? There's a sorrows can be classified essentially into three groups. The sorrow which comes from your body and mind. You have a toothache, you have a backache, you have a stomachache. When you become old, all kinds of aches come to you, the body and the mind. Somebody insults you in public, somebody cheats you, and you feel deeply pained at heart. That's also a sorrow, coming from the body and the mind, called adhyatmika dukkha. Another kind of sorrow comes to beings, subhuman beings, animals, plants, birds, and human beings, of course. Our mothers will know, those who cook in the kitchen, cockroaches, great sorrow. Some years ago, there was a report in one of the villages in Bengal, a large number of snails invaded. Snails, you know, are little creatures which move extremely slowly. We have, contrast to email, we have S-mail. Do you know S-mail? Snail mail, which moves very slowly. 100,000 snails invaded that village. They opened the bathroom, you have the snails, you have the kitchen, you have the snails. So people had, the entire village has to be evacuated. People had to run away. Some of you must have seen the famous Hitchcock film on the birds. When we were young, it used to be there. Suddenly the birds decided to attack human beings. Hundreds of them attacking, and the human beings are panicky. So coming from beings called Adi Bhautika Dukkha. The first was Adhyatmika Dukkha, second Adi Bhautika Dukkha, coming from bhutas. The third is Adi Daivika, coming from natural calamities. The floods and the tsunami and the super cyclone and the earthquake. Now, environmental activists will claim even that is somewhat man-made. So it's called Adi Daivika Dukkha. So every dukkha leads to Ashanti, lack of peace, and therefore the Rishi prays, chanting Shanti 3 times, the ward off 3 kinds of dukkha. So let me begin with this universal Shanti prayer, which is well known in the Vedas. Om Yau Shantihi Antarikshagum Shantihi Prithvi Shantihi Apas Shantihi Oshadhaya Shantihi Vishve Deva Shantihi Sarvam Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sama Shantiredhi. The earth, the oceans, the vegetation, the environment, forces of nature, and me also should be peaceful. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The 3 kinds of sorrow should be eliminated. Now talking about Dharma and Dhamma, Dharma is a very unique word in Sanskrit, which I believe is untranslatable. The word religion is not only a poor translation, is a wrong translation. Of course, religion means something else. Love of knowledge and going back to your source, religere and all the Latin they will say. Dharma comes from a beautiful root. Let us go to the root of it. The verbal root called the dhatu in Sanskrit comes from the dhr dhatu. Dhr means to hold. You can immediately appreciate when I say the modern word for holding together. There is a beautiful poem, 1920, by W.B. Yeats, in which he said, the center cannot hold, things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Anarchy is everywhere. And the best of people lack all conviction, the worst are full of passionate intensity. It's a beautiful verse. You cannot hold together. Holding together is called dharma. Not allowing things to fall apart. You know what is the modern word for holding together? You'll immediately say, when I say the word, which is the buzzword now, starting with the United Nations to everywhere. It's called sustainability. We call it sustainable development, sustainable agriculture, sustainable everything, sustainable food. Everything has to be sustained. Sustaining means to hold it together. What is the principle which holds things together is called the dharma. So I would translate dharma as a principle of sustainability. What is the principle which holds everything together from falling apart? This principle of sustainability, which was called dharma, is fundamental to society. And the famous commentary in the Bhagavad Gita by the great Shankaracharya, the great commentator, he begins in the Upodghata, that means the preamble to this Bhashya, by saying, Vivido hi vedokto dharma, pravritti lakshano, nivritti lakshanascha. There are two kinds of dharma, vedokta dharma, the dharma tradition in the Vedas and the Vedanta. What are they? Pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti is something which is outgoing. Nivritti is inward looking. The older definition of Vedanta, even according to Shankara, was pravritti is in which you engage in action. Nivritti is something in which you desist from action and look inward. Karma sannyasa it was called. Swami Vivekananda gave an original interpretation to this in the modern times. He said, go to the root once again. It comes from the vritta dhatu. Vrit means to revolve, to cycle. You know, the vritta is a cycle. So, pra is the upasarga. Pra purvak vritta dhatu ktin pratyaya pravritti. Ni purvak vritta dhatu ktin pratyaya nivritti. Cycling towards and cycling away from. Earlier it was thought cycling towards means that cycling towards karma. Cycling away from nivritti is desisting from work, which is called nivritti, karma sannyasa. But Swami Vivekananda said, towards what and away from what? Towards self, which is the small self, self-centeredness, egocentricity, and away from self-centeredness. That means anybody who moves away from his own individual little self is in the nivritti marga, although he may be engaged in action. This is the fundamental message of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna wanted to give up his swadharma. He was a warrior, he was a senapati, he was an army commander. Suddenly he goes and fails. When I teach the Bhagavad Gita to the students, you should always give them modern idioms. Then I tell them, why should Arjuna did not want to fight? Why did the Bhagavan said, just come on, fight? Some people have called Krishna the warmonger. Arjuna wants peace, does not want to fight. Krishna says, no, go on fighting. Is it a good thing to do? I give the example to the students. Imagine India-Pakistan World Cup final match. They understand this. The two captains go, there is a toss. India captain suddenly says, cries and collapses, throws off his bat and pads, give the cup to Pakistan, I don't want this match anymore. Just imagine this situation. Millions of people watching, electronic media, and then hundreds, thousands of them reaching directly. What will be the situation like? It's exactly the situation of Arjuna. He was a warrior. He was leading the army. He knew very well, even before going to the war, he was going to fight and kill Bhishma and Drona. Suddenly he sees there and then collapses. Shankara says, Swajanam hikatam hatva sukhinasyama madhava. The Swajana occurs 4 times in the first chapter. My people, my people. The moment the I and the mine comes there, immediately you collapse. Aham yesham mama yete iti bhranti pratyaya nimitta. There is a statement by Shankara. They are mine, I am theirs. I and mine, the sense of ahankara and mamakara, the egoism immediately gives you dejection and despondency. Bhagavan tells Arjuna, it is not the karma or the work which binds you, the attachment to karma phala which binds you. So you do karma, but don't be attached to the fruits of work. Once again, there's a serious problem there, if you seriously analyze. Suppose you want to go to the kitchen, some of our mothers go to the kitchen, and then you have hot water, prepare tea. You're preparing this tea just like that, not for anything else. So are you well? You should be. So nobody does anything without an eye to fruits. Prayojanam manuddishya mandopina pravartate, there is Mimamsa. Even a fool does not do anything unless he has a prayojana, unless he wants the fruits of work. What is the motivating factor? I give another example. From cricket, people understand very well in India. How many times young boys are here? How many times Sachin Tendulkar got out between 90 to 100? A huge number of times. I don't have the statistics. A person who comes to 95 is unable to reach 100 because he is looking at the scoreboard. Till 90, he was fluently, happily playing. He was playing the game of cricket. He was working without any desire. The moment he reached 90, I have to keep century, gets out. Which means, the moment you have a desire to achieve something in future, you fail in the present. This is the basis of Buddha's teaching. Why Buddha's teaching becomes very relevant for the modern times? The whole world is now after Buddhism. Thanks to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I was with him some days ago in the Institute of Tibetan Studies in Sarnath. We learned a lot from him. So why is because the present is most important. Don't project anything to the future. Because what is important, what you do now. What you project into the future is conditioned by what you are now, and therefore it is only an imagination. What has happened in the past, it is dead. Longfellow's famous poem, which we memorized at the school, trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present with heart within and God overhead. So Buddha's Kshanika Vijnana idea, this moment is what is important. Don't worry about what's going to come into the future. So this moment, can you live a righteous life? Therefore, the word dharma, pravritti dharma and nivritti dharma are two paths which has been given to you. The moment you go into selfish mode, then you lose the charm of life, you become depressed. The moment you go to the unselfish mode, then you enjoy life. You don't have to renounce the world, have all the goods of the world. It's a wrong statement that Vedic civilization was otherworldly. No. The Vedic rishis were not sannyasis. They had wives to boot, and Yajnavalkya too. Greatest of rishis, who came to Janaka whenever he wanted some cows. Very interesting man, very humorous also. Cows were the wealth in those times. Whenever Yajnavalkya has need of cows, he used to go to Janaka. Janaka once asked him, "Oh, sir, have you come here to discuss Brahman or you want some cows?" "Ubhayam vai samrat," he said, "I want both." Janaka's court, so many Vedic scholars assembled. Janaka suddenly thought, who amongst these is the greatest Vedic scholar? Brahmishtha, the word is, Brahma is Veda. Then he said, whoever amongst you is the greatest Vedic scholar, I will give you 1,000 cows with a huge amount of gold attached to the horns of each of them. Come on. Who will claim that I am the greatest? At least humility will prevent you from doing that. Everybody has looked at everybody else. Yajnavalkya smartly got up. He didn't claim he is the greatest. Look at this humor. Called his disciple Shamashrava. Shamashrava, take this cows home. Then there's a big furor. People are up in arms. Tvam Brahmishtosi, are you the greatest scholar in the Vedas? Then humorously he said, Namo vayam Brahmishtaya, I bow down before the greatest scholar, but I badly need those cows. So this was the Vedic wisdom, full of humor and wit. And the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Brahmananda Valli, begins with Brahma Vida apnoti param tadesha abhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. Talks in the highest note about Brahman. You know how it ends? What happens to such a person who knows Brahman? Mahan bhavati prajaya pashubhir brahmavarchasena mahan kirtya. He becomes great, he gets plenty of progeny and wealth, and huge amount of fame and kirti, and lives happily. So do not imagine that the Vedic civilization, the Dharma civilization, the Dharma tradition cuts you away from the world. You get all the things of the world, but live a godly life. the Bhagavad Gita towards the end does not define the matter of the nature of realization. That's a very interesting statement. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmama shanto brahmabhujaya kalpate brahmabhuta prasannatmana shochati na kankshati samam sarveshu bhuteshu madhu bhaktim labhate param bhaktya mam abhijanati avanyascha tatvata tado mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Having known the supreme reality, what happens to him? Tad anantaram vishate. Anantaram thereafter, tad into that, vishate enters. He enters into it. You interpret what is it, you interpret what is enters. He does not go into the conflict of becoming one with it, separate from it. That means you live a godly, divine life. What is the basis of that? Sarva bhuta hite rataha. This is the punchline of the Vedas and the Vedanta. You should be concerned about the welfare of all the beings, bhuta, not only human beings. It's exactly what the Dhamma tradition teaches. The whole thing about the Buddha, the idea of compassion, maitra karuna evacha, maitri and karuna. So you be good and do good. When Buddha was said, this is all about religion. Swami Vivekananda said, why is it that the world is in such a bad state? He made an interesting statement. You need conviction in the powers of goodness. Good people in the world are huge number. All of us present here, are we bad people? We are reasonably good, aren't we? No. Hundreds of thousands of good people are there, but why is it that goodness is not dominating? Vivekananda beautifully analyzed and said, good people lack conviction in the powers of goodness. We are not convinced about the powers of goodness as much as wicked people are convinced about the power of wickedness. It's a very serious statement to ponder about. A wicked person even will risk his own life to do wicked things. Look at terrorists. We criticize them, but they look at the good side. Can a person be a suicide bomber himself and kill himself for a mission which he thinks he is accomplishing, whatever be the reason? Can a good person do that? If any of the good people say, can you die for this cause for goodness? I will go, let me see. I always think of the example of the 9/11 attack. All of you know this. There were, I think, 3 or 4 people there with plastic knives, hijacking that plane with 200 good people sitting and watching. When they were throwing their knives, why could not half a dozen of these good people pounce on them? Because they were afraid to die. These 4 people were not afraid to die because they were wicked. So you be convinced about something. Wicked people are convinced about wickedness much more than good people are convinced about goodness. This is the lesson of the old story of the Devi Mahatmyam of the Durga Saptashati. Indra and Varuna and all those great people. Devendra was the minister, chief minister. And his cabinet consisted of, you know, Indra's cabinet? Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Yama, all the great ministers. But Mahishasura comes and gives them a blow and then dethrones Indra. All the devatas are running for their lives. Why? Because good people. Mahishasura was wicked, but he had that courage. In fact, Swami Vivekananda once said, better be wicked than be weak. In fact, being a Dharma Guru, a religious leader, he made such devastating statements. He once said, as a boy in school, I read Milton's Paradise Lost. The only fellow for whom I had some respect was Satan, who dared disobey God. I know the Milton's Paradise Lost, those who have read it, one of our English professors, or professor is here, pointed out to me, you know the first sentence with which Satan spoke in the heavens? We have, I come from a land which Inqilab Jindabad is very famous, used to be, revolting against God. He was an angel, luminous, his name was Lucifer. God created all beings, created man, and then told the angels, he is the greatest of creation, bow down to him. Lucifer got up and said, what? We are angels. How can we bow down to a man? He called the angels, the first union of angels in heaven. You know, the first statement he made, he began his speech by saying, you will be surprised to know, arise, awake, or be ever fallen. Swami Vivekananda must have been deeply influenced by this sentence when he talked about arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Vivekananda said, Ravana is my hero. That is because of the strength. He fought God himself, and he said, I will die at the hand of God. Manifestation of power. Now, if wicked people can manifest power and get away with it and destroy this world, how much more power will come to good people if they are exposed to goodness? What is required of that? There is a dharma. You believe in the power of dharma. Many of us have half belief in dharma. I think it could work, but still, let me see. We don't believe this has to work. Goodness has to work. I call such people good people. They are good people, but goody-goody people. There is an English word. There is a called goodness and goody-goodiness. Goody-goodness and namby-pamby goodness, whining and weeping and crying, and that's what can I do, feeling helpless all the time. I asked myself, in this huge land of ours, which is called the Bharatavarsha, what is the one disease which is plaguing everybody? Starting from the topmost leader up to the sweeper in the street. Can you tell me what is that one quality in the disease which is plaguing us? Helplessness. Asahayata. What is it about we don't know? I call it anirvachaniya asahayata. Inexplicable helplessness. Everybody says I am helpless. If you ask the man in the street, मैं क्या करूँगा, मैं तो कोनो क्षमता ही नहीं है मेरा. If you ask a person with the power, nobody in this world, so many opponents are there, I can't do anything. Who does win? Who does it? Everybody says they'll pass the buck to somebody else. Harry Truman, the late president of the United States, had on his table, had a small write-up. The buck stops here. You can't pass the buck beyond the president. So India, in Hinduism, in a lighter vein, we pass the buck always to God, with the will of God. What is the will of God? Nobody knows. When something inconvenient happens, Ishwar ki ichha se aisa hoga kya karenge? Everybody is helpless, only Ishvara. That is why Swami Vivekananda said, you are that God. Why do you pass it on to some God who is present somewhere? You don't know where he is. And he thundered. See, look at the statement by this great religious leader. I don't believe in a God who can't give me 2 pieces of bread when I am alive and promises me post-mortem happiness in heaven. That God is so powerless, he can't give me food to eat now. What is the use of that post-mortem happiness? Do it now. So he said, stand up in your own 2 feet and take the responsibility in your own shoulders. So strength and power should come to us. In the Dharma tradition, people are tremendously powerful. And beautifully the Vice-chancellor madam told us that this was the Kshatriyas, the Rajashakti. Rajakshatriyas and Brahmanas, there were 2 parallel forces which were happily blended together and helping each other. The Brahmanas, the professorial class, they cultivate knowledge in the universities, etc. And the Kshatriyas, the ruling class, they were the power and they supported it. Janaka and Yagyavalkya are 2 great examples. And some secrets of Karma Yoga were known only to the Kshatriyas and not even to Brahmanas. The 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Imam Rajarshayo viduhu sakaleni hamata yogo nashta parantapa. He says there's 2 classes of beings, one is a Brahmarshi and the Rajarshi. Brahmarshi are purely Brahminical class who cultivate knowledge. Now, what are the theoretical professors which we have in the universities? They are so theoretical, they can't even, electrical engineer who has a PhD can't even fix a bulb in his house. But he is so highly theoretical, he can solve differential equations in a computer. That is a class of Brahmanas. And the Kshatriyas were most practical. They were the power behind them. They got the Rajarshis. Swami Vivekananda therefore said, the modern times, we need not even want Brahmarshis. We want Kshatriya Virya plus Brahma Teja. We want a combination of the wisdom of the Brahmanas and the power of the Kshatriyas for doing good. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. And therefore the Dharma tradition, starting from the Vedas up to culminating in the Advaita Vedanta and the various other schools of Vedanta, talked about the reality as being complete and Purna. You read a complete Purna, life of Purnata, life of fulfillment, life of fullness. When you eliminate your ego completely, there's a void in you which is immediately filled in by infinite. This is a scientific law. Some of you must have read in schools the experiment with the Hagdiber's hemispheres. The two hemispheres are put together and air within is pumped out. Several horses cannot separate out these two hemispheres because the pressure of air from outside is trying to fill it. Nature abhors a vacuum, as they say, and therefore when you empty yourself totally, when the ego is totally destroyed and obliterated, then the divine fills you. Now two ways of looking at it. The Dharma tradition looked at it as Purnata, you are filled with the divine, and the Dhamma tradition due to Buddha looked at it as a void in which the ego is completely obliterated. So the Shunyata which Nagarjuna spoke about, this Nalanda tradition, is not emptiness or void, but the absence completely of the littleness called the ego. When the ego is completely destroyed, Chatushkoti Vinirmukta, that's what he says. Existence, neither existence nor non-existence, nor a combination of existence and non-existence, nor the existence of non-existence and non-existence. So, good statement to put people to sleep. What it means is, when you become completely empty, you receive the immeasurable. So receiving the immeasurable is the Dharma tradition called Purnata, and emptying yourself of the ego is the Dhamma tradition called the Shunya. And the Shunya and the Purna, the zero and the infinity, are actually one and the same thing. I can give you a small mathematical proof of it for those who, you remember your trigonometry in the school days? Some of you? You know the 4 quadrants? First quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, the fourth quadrant. The first quadrant, sine, cos and tan, all of them are positive. Second quadrant, sine is positive, tan and cosine are negative. Third quadrant, tan is positive, sine and cosine are negative. And the fourth quadrant, cosine is positive, tan and sine are negative. You remember this? Now, take an angle which is 0. Go on increasing it till you reach 90 degrees, which is pi by 2 radians. What is tan pi by 2? Tan pi by 2 is infinite. Now, if you infinitesimally give a small increment to this, then tan becomes negative in the second quadrant. How can infinity go to negative unless it passes through 0? That shows that 0 and infinity are one and the same thing. This is the proof given by Swami Ramakrishnananda, who was a great monastic disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He was a great Sanskritist as well as a mathematician. He gives another example from physics. You remember the convex lens? Huh? You have a convex lens, you have a object is infinite and you have a point image on the other side. You slowly keep moving the object. When you come to the principal focus, the image is at infinity. When you infinitesimally move this, there's a virtual image on the other side. That means from infinity for this image to move the other side, it has to pass through 0. That means 0 and infinity are one and the same thing. So which shows the Dharma tradition due to Shankara and others, the Vedantic tradition, it emphasizes the Purnata, that the divine, stressing the positive aspect, and the Dhamma tradition due to Nagarjuna and others, particularly in the Nalanda tradition, it emphasizes the Shunyata, to emphasize that man has to be absolutely emptied of his littleness and his self-centeredness. So it is positive and negative ways of putting the same thing, and therefore the great conference combining Dhamma and Dharma traditions, the Purnata and the Shunyata, the zero and the infinity, is a complete picture of the Indian tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. I think you have managed to awaken particularly our students in more than what you thought. It's definitely very, very inspiring. I think Swami Vivekananda asked the youth to play football. You have chosen cricket to be in sync with the modern days, perhaps. Thank you once again. May I now invite Sri Pema Khandu, Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, to come and address the gathering.
First of all, I would like to extend greetings from Arunachal Pradesh, Nashik Jilla, from the land of the rising sun. In fact, it's an honor to be here amongst you all, and especially respected Swami Atma Priyanandaji, the Vice-chancellor of Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda University, and Madam Vice-chancellor Nalanda University, Madam Susena Singhji, and eminent scholars and intellectuals from across the globe, and my dear friends. In fact, when I got a call from the India Foundation, Mr. Ram Madhaji, when he called me, I told, like, it's a kind of dialing a wrong number to me. I'm not an appropriate person to come here and address that too in a very big subject, which has been termed as Dharma-Dhamma tradition. So anyway, it's my honor to be here, and when the Nalanda University, the name has been tied up, so how can I say no? So distinguished guests, I think most of you might have heard about my beautiful state, Arunachal Pradesh. It is one of the biggest states in Northeast India, and of course it's very beautiful. So I would like to extend my welcome to you all in my beautiful state. At the moment, the state is not very much developed up to the mark, because we as an Arunachali is a very young state, and under the dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister, now lots of developmental activities are going on there, especially in the communication sector. So once it will be developed, then Arunachal, we have many resources. Definitely Arunachal Pradesh will be one of the richest state in India as well. So at the outset, I place my sincere gratitude to the India Foundation and the Nalanda University for making me part in this all-important conference and giving me a lifetime opportunity to be amongst all intellectuals and religious leaders of eminence, to listen to them. And I sincerely expect that this experience and knowledge which I gained today, especially after listening to Swamiji, it will be definitely benefit in my lifetime, so that I can perform more and do justice to my people as a political and as a social leader. Frankly speaking, like I said earlier also, religion, dharma and dhamma, these are two big subjects for me to comprehend or comment. If I may be pardoned, I may be pardoned of my limited knowledge in this field, but if I'm permitted to interpret, I believe the term Dhamma literally corresponds to Dharma. Dharma may be translated as religion, law, order, duty, or ethics. It is far more encompassing than any of the particular activities that might be described as religion. Dharma is what centers, upholds, and make meaningful all activities, not just those done in certain times and at certain places. It is that order which supports the whole world, from the laws of nature to the inner working of conscience. To my understanding, the term Dhamma stands for Buddha's doctrine or teachings, which the great Emperor Ashoka used in a broader and much different way than its conventional sense. Defining Dhamma in a very simple words, he believed in Dhamma simply as good things. In his opinion, the two basic attributes of Dhamma are fewer evils and many good deeds. The good deeds constitute kindness, purity of heart, truthfulness, gentleness, etc. Whereas cruelty, anger, rage, fury, pride, envy are defined as evils. He insisted on avoiding the sins and maximizing the numbers of good deeds. This is, I think, what is the need of today's world for just a social order. Dharma-Dhamma has been a fundamental ideology in all Indian originated traditions. The principles like truth and non-violence, peace and harmony, humanness and spiritual linkages, mutual care and consideration, universal friendship and peaceful coexistence, and attitude like selflessness, detachment, social service, cosmic wellness have been integral part of Indian cultural ethos. Since India's remotest past, these have been cultivated as reiterated time and again by great seers, sages, and thinkers. Our Dharma should aim at bringing happiness in our life of the common people. In spite of our religious affiliation or belief, we must emphasize on the importance of happiness. As we have inherited a vast multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multicultural society, the principle of Dharma, like religious tolerance, are the only way forward for our great nation and universal harmony as well. In fact, Ashoka's policy of toleration means that he was neither a zealot nor a religious fanatic. He was in search of a religion that would create harmony and would work as an uniting force rather than dividing one. Here I would like to mention a few words about Arunachal Pradesh. The indigenous people of Arunachal are very proud inheritors of rich culture, each distinct from each other and very colorful also. They follow various faith, belief, religion, though they remain indigenous at core. We have seen the effect of modernization and globalization on smaller indigenous community on other parts of the world. We in Northeast, particularly in Arunachal Pradesh, are lucky that outside influence has not much affected our way of life, our belief, our rich cultural tradition, and most importantly, our firm beliefs on religious tolerance. In today's world, where religion, fanaticism, and social tensions has become part of present reality, Dhamma becomes more relevant. We need to understand and acknowledge the dignity of men irrespective of their social, religious, and economic status. Adaptation of various behaviors through the ancient Indian ideology of Dhamma is perhaps the best way to bring social solidarity. Dhamma is the righteous practice to wisdom, harmony and affection amongst men that could only lead to peace and equality. So I have not much here to say. As one of our professors from Delhi University, he has already told that the 3 days of conference in which lot many eminent speakers they have participated and many papers have been submitted. So I would like to request the organizers to please don't forget to send me all those compiling after you go into publication. Please do send a copy to me. So I once again thank the organizer and for organizing this timely, relevant conference. And I firmly believe that this conference would light up the road to Dharma-Dhamma centric political and social order for universal peace, harmony, justice, and prosperity. With this, I would like to extend a very warm, happy, and healthy and prosperous New Year to you all. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh. Now we are coming to the end of this conference. May I request Professor Govind Joseph Chakrapani, Dean, School of Ecology and Environment Studies, Nalanda University, to present the vote of thanks to the participants.
Thank you very much. You become what you think. It's the pearl of wisdom coming from this land of Buddha. I am Govind Joseph Chakrapani, the Dean of School of Ecology and Environmental Studies in Nalanda University. It's a very proud privilege and honor for me to be part of this acknowledgement ceremony and delivering the vote of thanks, which is really difficult, you know, such a conference, so many participants, and the August gathering. It makes me nervous, right? Okay, so let's, it's not only a bounden duty to acknowledge all that have been there for the past 3 days. It has been an endeavor for many months to have what we had during these last 3 days. We'd like to thank the President of India, Mr. Ramnath Kovindji, the Governor of Bihar, the Chief Minister of Bihar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, the External Affairs Minister of Sri Lanka, the Secretary East from Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. These were the people who set the dais on the inauguration, and it got inaugurated in the way it should have been for the conference, very, very aptly. So, thanks to all of them from the bottom of our hearts. And today, we have Mr. Pema Khanduji, Swami Atmapriyanandji. Thank you very much for culminating what we started with in the same fashion that we had anticipated. Thank you very much for your time. So this conference has been a part of also the commemorative event, 25 years of commemoration of the Ministry of External Affairs with the Government of India, with the ASEAN countries. And they have been very kind enough to have supported all that was required for the conference to be concluded in this fashion. Of course, India Foundation, Ram Madhavji, great scholar, and the director of India Foundation. He was there on the first day, and it was a fantastic talk by him to have brought us a lot of things to be thinking of or pondering for the next few, till the next conference and the deliberations that will be there till the next conference. Captain Alok Bansalji, Director, India Foundation, thank you very much, sir. Professor S.R. Bhatt, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, has been the germination of this conference. Professor S.P. Singh, Mr. Sudesh Singh, Mr. Guru Prakash, omnipresent, Mr. Sudarshan Rambhadran, again omnipresent, and Aditya, Tiwari, Nuang Hadi, Soumya, and Mr. Siddharth Singh. Thank you very much for making Nalanda the host, for allowing us to host the 4th Dharma-Dhamma conference. Big thanks to you. And we have the event management, EXP, event management team, led by Niraj Thakur. As Madam Vice-chancellor said, the laughing Buddha. I hope today he will have some sleep too. Okay, we have the ICCR cultural troupe, beautiful programs. So the deliberation never ends without a cultural program, and the way they bond all of us, mesmerizing shows from ICCR cultural troops, for which, again, Professor Sunena Singh, who has been instrumental because he has also been the vice president of ICCR, and Kalimpong dance group. Yesterday's the lion dance, I don't think it has gone out of our memory still. The state and district administration has been fantastic. They have seen to it that they are there with us forever, and we have always been grateful to them, particularly the district administrator, Mr. Tyagarajan, Dr. Tyagarajan ji, and SSP Sudhir, and all their teams. Thank you very much. Really, we appreciate your cooperation in every possible way that you have been here, and we anticipate in the same way in the future to come. The Nalanda University Board of Governors has been instrumental in for being there at all the times and for us to be hosting this. And grateful thanks to them as well. So I don't know, I need to really mention about this, Professor Sunena Singh. I'll just start with a small, maybe a small story if you allow me, ma'am. Yeah? Let's listen. Okay. There is a boy and a girl, that a small, brother and sister walking on the street. And the sister goes through a doll shop, and she looks at a particular toy. She's very fond of the toy, for the doll. And every day she looks at it. One day, the brother and sister, while they're walking, she stops and watches for a long time. And when he asks her, "What do you want, sister?" She says, "I like to have the toy." So the boy, her brother, gives the toy to her, purchases it, and he goes to the counter to pay. And he asks at the counter, how much I have to pay for it. And the shopkeeper realizes the boy probably doesn't have money, but still he asks. He feels so happy about the maturity that the boy showed for his sister. And he says, "Whatever you can give, why don't you give just what you are capable of, give it." So he comes out with a bag full of seashells, gives it to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper takes it, takes out all, counts 4 of them, keeps it in his pocket, and returns the rest of the things. So then the assistant of the shopkeeper asks, "Sir, you have been very kind, and why did you not take the money from the boy?" He says, if I inculcate this negativity that he has no money, and I don't let the boy satisfy his sister with a doll, then I am bringing in a lot of negativity into the world through the boy. So he brings that positivity. That is what she has done to all of us. An epitome of positivity, great administrative skill. She has been an accomplished academician. She is rated as one of the best in the Asian region, one of the topmost. And not only did she bring her wisdom, she has a great vision for this university. The way she conducted the English and Foreign Languages University at Hyderabad, we are so happy that we'd have Nalanda University back into its glory with your leadership, ma'am. So thank you very much for bringing this conference to all of us. We couldn't just realize that we'll have a president amongst us in such a short time, in 6 months' time. And she's a hard taskmaster, that's true. We have seen her working from 9 to 8, and she makes everybody teach, take active interest in all kinds of activities. In fact, we have had a sea change in terms of a transformation of our academic curricula. We have a sea change. In fact, we have the first thing to realize that the students need a campus in-house hospital, and we have an hospital here. And in the conference, we had a booth here, the hospital desk. Fortunately, nobody visited. So that shows how good the food was and how good the conduct of the conference was. Or the menu was also set by her. So very detailed. Yeah, we will. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you have done to all of this, Nalanda University, as well as for bringing all the scholars here and the way you made us realize we could do. All the plenary speakers, all the speakers from all over the world, from India, the young scholars, everybody has contributed their might here. So we deeply appreciate your presence here. And Sumant Paranji, is he here? I would also like him to please stand up. Sumant Paranji. Yeah, he is there. So he is our Director of Communications, a wonderful guy. We all owe it to him. And all the faculty members, all the student volunteers, all the staff, I'm not going to take names here, but all of that you see here, each and everybody has been a participant and has contributed to this kind of a conference. And whomever you see on our website, everybody has contributed to it. And a heartfelt thanks from all of the organizing side. RICC, a wonderful place, isn't it? It's a beautiful place, and they also provided the cozy environment here. And the weather has been fantastic. It has opened up. So thanks to all that. And yeah. Yeah, one more. Yeah, the land of Buddha. Thank you very much. And you all have a safe stay here. And next, the conclusion will be told by Professor Sunena Singh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chakrapani. Great job. You didn't miss anyone. Thank you.
May I request Professor Sunena Singh to formally declare the event closed?
And also national anthem, we all sing together. Yeah? I declare the conference closed.
Please rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे